mean. The way you fit in them jeans, you eat your cornbread and greens. Dance or a doctor, red wine or vodka. Redesign your spot and redefine your mantra. Retwist your locks and realign your chakras. Doing your squats and getting closer to God, huh? Brunching with your squad or taking a girl's trip. Adjust your crown, you God's gift to the world, sis. Celestial body, drink your water. Meditate, sun kiss goddess, heavenly order. Levitate, tribe of Ashanti. Black girl magic, melanin popping. Whether you ratchet or lavish, whether you bougie or savage, you a gift and a treasure. You got to love a black girl getting a shift together. Black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls getting a shift together, man. These black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls getting a shift together, dog. When God made you, boo, you know he showed out. Mahogany enchantress, blessings overflow now. Picture of success, seductive silhouettes on a spiritual quest. Manifest and be blessed. Mother, sister, auntie, tribe of Ashanti. Rocking your locks, I got a close crop blondie. The curse and the gift, uplift, apply pressure. Nothing like a black girl getting a shift together. Nothing like a black girl getting a shift together. Nothing like a black girl getting a shift together. Black girls are getting a shift together. Black girls are getting a shift together, man. These black girls are getting a shift together, man. These black girls are getting a shift together.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. This is a podcast about mental health and wellness, as well as self-empowerment for Black women. I'm your host, Ursula. I'm a transformation life coach, as well as a mental health and wellness advocate. And each week, I promise to deliver relevant topics and resources that affect our community. So just remember, once you figure out what's going on up here is when you can ignite your fire from within. Welcome to season 3. Thank you for returning. Any first-time listeners, thank you for joining us. Returning visitors, thank you for coming back again. We're going to take care of a little housekeeping first before we delve into our topic today. I want to make sure you all visit my website, which is blackgirlsgettingtheirshifttogether.com. And there's a lot of added info on the website. So I have coaching packages, individual one-on-one packages, self-care tribe vibe. And that's when there's a group of women that get together, between 3 to 10 women. And I'm about finished with the tribe vibe now, so I'm restarting again with the next cycle. So make sure and go on there and take a look. I also have digital products, merchandise, as you see, the nice t-shirt, as well as another upcoming meditation event. And the last one I had was pretty good. Hello, my vivid life. It's my YouTube sister. All right. We're going to get right into, another thing. When you listen to me on the audio podcast, I'm on all audio podcast platforms. Make sure and subscribe because it really helps podcasters a lot. And more importantly, please give me a review. Whatever your heart, whichever many stars, 5 would be great. But whatever your spirit leads you, please, whatever you do, just give a review as well. And make sure and like and comment tonight. You know, if anything hits your soul or makes sense, I want you to go and put some light bulbs in the comment box. So I know that you get it because tonight's guest, he's very informative. All right, let's get right into it. So, as some of you all know, you may not know, August is National Wellness Month. So, yes, Vivid Light. Yes, there is a link to the podcast. I will put that link up. So, August is National Wellness Month. And let's see, last week we had our sex therapist on, Jet Setting Jasmine. We talked about sexual wellness. The week before, we had Celeste, the therapist, on, and she talked about mental wellness. But tonight we're going to talk about effective communication. That is also wellness, whether you have a spouse, where you're at work, or whether it's family, communicating with each other, because we're so used to sweeping a bunch of issues under the rug, and then the issues become so big under the rug, we end up tripping over them a lot, as opposed to cleaning out under the rug. And sometimes it's just effective listening and communication. And that's why I decided to have my special guest on. So I'm going to bring him out of the waiting room. Mr. Bruner, are you ready? Thumbs up or down? He's ready.
I'm here.
Hello,
Howdy.
sir. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm well. Everyone, I want to introduce you to Kyle Bruner. He is the founder, CEO of Bruner Mediation. Look, my mind is on meditation. Bruner Mediation.
Yes.
We're talking about effective communication. So why not have a mediator on? This is what he does for a living.
All day, every day. Exactly.
So, oh yeah, also anybody who's listening, make sure and say hello to Kyle. And if you have any questions for Kyle, feel free to come in the comment box and type in your questions, or I will drop a link in about 10 minutes or so. And if you'd like to come on air and respectfully ask Kyle any questions, we're both ready and for it.
Very good. Very good.
Yes. So, Kyle.
Yes.
We all need some help on how to communicate. And when you told me you were a mediator, I was instantly intrigued and impressed. But can you tell everybody what exactly is a mediator?
Well, a mediator is a person who is a third part, what we call a third party neutral. That's somebody who has nothing to do with two people who are in the middle of a conflict. And our job is basically to help facilitate a conversation in such a way that these people will find a solution at the end of that conversation that'll make them both happy, and they can both be happy and possibly still maintain a relationship. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
So
Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And I have a lot of questions just by you saying that, but can we put a pin in that?
Okay.
What made you want to become a mediator?
It was all by accident, believe it or not. I was in college getting my bachelor's degree in economics, and they were having problems in the dorms. And the ombuds person said, you know what, I need some peer mediators. Let me train some people. And she offered to train them for free. And she trained us. And the whole time I'm being trained, I'm like, I love this. This is kind of always what I've done. And they need more people like this out here. I'm one of the few people who actually took it from the dorms to the next level, to the state courts and beyond.
Wow. What kind of, I think my dorm experience, it was extreme, which I don't even want to know.
I can imagine with you.
Oh my God. It was not good. Yeah. And it wasn't me, but moving forward, what experience did you have in college when you were mediating your peers?
What I found out most importantly is that if people actually had a chance to sit down and talk without judgment, and talk without with some guidance, that most people can actually solve their own issues. That's what I really found out.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I really do believe. If you have somebody that's actually professional and actually who knows exactly how to do this, you can almost get anybody to sit down and talk.
Really?
It's a skill set. It's a skill set, though. It's a skill you have to develop.
That's why I asked you to come on and be my special guest. I believe we all need that. Oh, hey, JP. How are you? How are you? You're already getting some love already. Oh,
Excellent.
and J. Solis Sherry. Hello to you too. It's a new person. Thank you.
All right. Welcome, new person.
Yeah. So anyone who's listening now, like I said earlier, if you have any light bulb moments or anything that makes sense to you or hit and makes your soul vibrate, put your light bulb emojis up in the comment box. So Kyle,
Yes.
when you mediate, is it usually oh, okay, Cherie, got it. I love it. Is it usually divorce? Is it families like a parent child? What kind of mediation do you specialize in, or is it vague?
I specialize in domestic, and which means people going through divorce, people having to rearrange their families, child support issues, parenting plans, and all those sort of things. Every now and then it'll come between to a parent and a child, and of course I've had experience over the years because I've been doing this for 28 years. I've had experience in the insurance industry. I've had experience in the employment industry. I've had experience in the court systems. So I'm well rounded. I've been around it all.
How do you stay neutral?
It's That's a good question. That's a good question. The funny thing is you have to almost take it. This is not my issue. This is their issue. This is not my issue. This is their issue. And so I don't take anything personal. Now there's some things as a neutral that'll come across your radar that will naturally give you an angst, if you will, because it's something that you might not necessarily agree with. But again, I have to take that hat off and say this has nothing to do with me. This is them.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's a skill in itself. I feel like I could be so, I'm learning, be so emotional.
Well, yeah, let me say this at the same time. Once you do it long enough, you realize that most people actually do what they think they have to do in order for them to get through the day.
Yeah.
Most people. And if you look at it like that, or maybe they're not properly trained in, for example, communication. That's a good example. Most people don't necessarily, they think they communicate, but they don't necessarily know how to communicate effectively. Hence this session. Mm-hmm.
I agree. And, becoming a coach myself, I realized that a lot of us, we do communicate. We do a lot of talking, but there's no substance. There's no solution focused conversations. And I believe sometimes that goes back to how we were raised. If you're used to confusion, you're going to continue the cycle of confusion. Does that make sense?
That's absolute truth.
Yeah.
The truth is, people actually respond to conflict the way that they were raised 9 times out of 10, how it was done at home. And most of the time, our parents didn't do it right.
Mm-hmm.
So to expect the next generation or the child to actually do it right or understand it is ridiculous.
Exactly. I'm reading this book called Adult Children of Immature Parents. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
3 pages in, it literally took me out because it made me realize that the communication that I grew up with was zero, but it was a bunch of talking and a lot of loudness, but it meant nothing. It was not solution focused whatsoever.
No, do what I say. That's it.
Yeah.
Oh, believe me, I understand that.
Right. All right. Well, we're going to get into we're going to go into that infographic, and we're going to talk about several ways to have good communication. Now, before we go into that, would you agree that these tips that you're about to share crosses over, it can span over from relationships to family and friends?
Oh, absolutely. At the end of the day, communication is communication, and that's how we interact with each other for the most part. So they cross all sorts of genres. They cross all sorts of conflicts. So absolutely yes to your question.
Okay, great. So first tip, creating a safe environment. What does
Hmm.
that mean?
Well, creating a safe environment basically sets the table for people to be able to say anything. And what people don't realize that we as humans have a natural flight or flight response. So
Mm,
if you feel pressure or if you feel like you're attacked, your mind automatically switches off in that frontal cortex. The blood stops flowing right there, and it starts to go to your hands and your feet for your flight or fight response. So then you're not thinking. And what happens when people are not thinking and they're not listening, they're not processing? So all this goes on. So you have to set an environment so people feel comfortable that they can have a honest conversation.
hmm. You know, that makes me wonder. There was someone who I dated in way back in the day, and he
Hmm.
had a big mouth.
Hmm.
And I would tell him, I would share with him different things that I've experienced. And he would open his mouth. And to me, that was not creating a safe environment. I no longer trusted him. Oh,
Well, okay. When you say open his mouth, exactly what do you mean by it? Was he critical? Was he, what did that mean?
all of the above.
Okay.
He really, he was critical. There was no empathy whatsoever. And at that time, I was looking for external validation. Unlike right now, I don't do that, and definitely working on it. But I didn't feel safe being open with
Right.
him. So I immediately just shut down. Oh, I'm having a light bulb moment myself.
Yeah.
yeah, I really, I shut down and I lost my voice.
Right. And that happens to a lot of people every day, all the time. And at the same time, a lot of people who've experienced conflict, they have an opinion about, or not an opinion, but a feeling about conflict. And the truth is that no matter who you are, where you are, at some point, conflict will knock on your door because we weren't all raised the same. We don't all think the same. So if that's the case, how can we have the same opinions about everything?
What do you mean by that?
How, how can we have the same feelings about everything if we weren't raised in the same house,
Oh,
if we weren't brought up the same way, if we're not of the same culture? All these things that causes us, the way we're raised causes us to see help help us view the world a certain way. And if we view the world differently, how can you expect us to naturally just automatically fall in line and agree with everything that everyone does?
hmm. I will share with you a comment by my YouTube sister, JP. She said, fantastic. She's loving this info already. I don't know if
Oh,
you can
great.
see it or not. Can you see it at the bottom of the screen?
I can see it now.
Yeah. And Sherry, she said that that is me. Yeah.
That is me. I'm sorry, Sherry, because I'm a mediator and communicator. I need to know, could you clarify exactly what is you? What
Right.
does that mean?
Hopefully she'll come back on again. But
Hmm.
so the opposite of someone playing small would be the aggressive person. What does that look like to you during the mediations?
Strangely enough, I've been doing that, like I said, about 28 years. And I've talked with other mediators, and other mediators have had these horror stories with really aggressive people. Um, for some reason, out of all these years, I've not had one person on my mediation table to actually just go crazy or become overly aggressive.
Really?
One person told me, he said, well, I think it's because, your style and your approach, you kind of take charge in a way, and you're so mellow and you're so cool. And the funny thing is, here's another secret to communication. As human beings, we tend to mimic other beings' behavior. So if I'm calm, then the other person will tend to be calm. If they decide to get loud and I lower my voice, then they tend to lower their voice. So these are some steps and skills to communication.
Oh, so
Mhm.
that's actually good manipulation in a positive way.
Okay, I guess that's one way to say it. Yes.
But it's a positive manipulation. I mean, it's getting results.
Hmm. Exactly.
Huh.
And again, it keeps that flight or fight or flight response from flaring up. And that's ultimately, in my case, that's what I want to do. I've known some people who are in the field, the fight, for them to go into that fight or flight response doesn't affect them and it doesn't bother them. They're still able to navigate the mediation. On the other hand, I prefer not to deal with it. If I had to, I could, I easily could, but I prefer not to. That makes the process longer.
True. These are facts. I'm just curious, off the path where we're going, what are some of the most aggressive things that your peers have said that they've witnessed?
People getting up, throwing chairs, people cussing them out. You know, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
What?
it can be bad. Well, you have to understand what we're dealing with. We're dealing with some pretty sensitive issues for the most part. Somebody is their family is changing. In my case, the family is changing, and somebody's got to pay an absorbent amount of money or something. So these are things that people deal with.
Wow. Yeah, that's scary. That would be
Hmm.
scary for me. Okay, so what about creating healthy boundaries with effective communication? This was huge for me right here when I read
Okay.
that. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Creating healthy boundaries. I think well, in general, I think everybody should have boundaries that they are set. And here's the secret or a tip. Once you have those boundaries set, you have to make sure you clearly communicate what those boundaries are, one, and two, make sure you let them know when those have been crossed. And you can't do it just one time and expect it not to can't do it one time and then they do it again and you let it slide that time, because that's not establishing um those boundaries. Does that make
So
sense?
it does make sense.
Hmm.
What I would want to know is, how does it look on both sides? So if you have someone who's very meek and passive, how would they voice their opinion about setting or creating a boundary? And then on the flip side, someone who's extremely aggressive.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we use in our field is the IU statement.
What does that
The
mean?
I Okay, I'll give you an example. I feel small when you yell at me, or I feel small, or I feel whatever I'm feeling, because no one can negate your feelings, because you feel how you feel. And you put a whatever that feeling is, and you let them know what that action was that made you feel that way, and that's a way you can communicate your boundaries. Does that make sense?
No, because
Okay.
I figure if I use the word you, that will automatically put the person on defense.
It can, um, but one it can, especially to say you do this to me. So the difference is, listen, I feel,
Oh,
and you start with yourself, and then many times you don't even have to say you. I feel small when people,
mm,
or when this happens. You can focus it on the issue as opposed to necessarily that person. It depends on who you're dealing with, because you can try that and they might not get it. They say, "Oh yeah, I understand you feel small when people do that to you," and not realizing that they did it. So sometimes then you might have to go back and say, "Listen, I feel small when you, you know,
I get it. I get it. And I like that. Focus on the issue.
exactly."
because
Exactly.
I feel like if you're doing a divorce mediation and say if someone is an abuser, that
Well,
I'm sure
first of all, we there are very few mediators who actually deal with domestic violence. Whenever there's violence involved in mediation, 9 times out of 10, we have to stop the mediation. And for the most part, that's the one thing, or one of a few things, that renders the mediation unconfidential. We 9 times out of 10, there's violence, we have to let somebody know.
Oh, so then you'd be a mandated reporter? Is that
Yes,
that is needed? Yeah. May I read a couple of comments?
sure.
Hey, Lakita is another YouTube sister of mine. She said to you, Kyle, that this is good info here. Oh, and as always, loving the studio set. Thank you, sis.
Thank you.
And Sherry, she's agreeing. She's saying yes, yes, and yes.
Yes. All right.
And another comment we have, oh, yeah, shifting that focus to the issue. Yeah. Because that deflection is a real thing.
Well, yeah, because again, in that communication process, we're really not clear, and we start getting focused on the emotion. And by the time we spend all this emotion, we've never really said exactly what the issue is or what we really want. So then at the end of that, we finish arguing, and then we just pick up arguing tomorrow because we really haven't established what we want and what is the problem.
So if you have a partner who deflects a lot, what would you suggest for the other partner to get it back on track?
Oh, again, that's another clarifying issue. I tell you what, give me an example of a deflection.
Okay. Babe, I don't know. I don't like that you leave me to tend to the kids all of the time. I need some help in this household. You're out playing basketball and hanging out. I need you here. And then he would say, well, you chose to become a housewife. I don't know. That to me, that would be a deflection.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, in that statement, there was a lot said. There was a lot said. It says you need help. It also says that you want him home. So there's a couple of different things going on there. Effectively, what happens is when I hate to say pin a person down, but when you're as specific as possible, then there's very few places that most people can go. They'll try to weasel out of it, but then okay. So I'll say, well, my statement would have been, I need help. And when you say I need help, and specifically, what sort of help do I need? I need help because Junior is 5 now, and it's hard to get a hold of him. He's running around tearing up everything and all sorts of whatever. And what I need help is, and what I need for you to do specifically is this, this, and this. And they can either say yes, or then they can say no.
I like that. What I'm hearing you say that is you have to be very clear and concise with what you're saying.
Exactly.
And stay on that emotional railroad track.
Well, I say try not to be as emotional because people listen better. People listen better when you're not. I'll give you a good example. My wife is a good example. If I raise my voice about anything, I could be talking about flowers. I could be talking about the yard, something nice and easy. But if I do that, she does not hear anything.
Really?
Does not hear anything. She naturally shuts down. So I have to present it in a way to which she's able to receive it so I can get what I need or want.
That sounds like a lot of emotional intelligence.
Yes, it is. It is. It is.
Yeah.
But we call it different things, but at the end of the day, it's still communication.
Right.
Matter of fact, let me give you this diagram before we go any further.
Please do.
You only need, well, it's not really a diagram, but it's just an idea. You only need three things to have effective communication. Do you know what those are?
No.
You need the sender of the message, and you need a message, and you need a receiver of the message. That's what you need. Those three things is all you need for effective communication.
Can you repeat that?
You need the sender of the message, and the receiver of the message. Now, the responsibility of the message actually belongs to the sender. So because it's my message, right? So my job is to make sure you get it in a way that you can receive it or understand it. I'll give you an example. So if I'm sending a fax message and you don't have a fax machine, how do you get the message? So then I have to figure out a way to get it to you so you can get the message that I want you to have, right?
Right. So
that's the way it is in life. So there's some people, for example, my wife, if you raise your voice, she's not gonna hear anything. I don't care who you are. so I have to give that message to her in a way to which she can receive it. My fax machine is not working. It's not gonna work for her. So I have to give it to her. Does that make sense?
No, that makes clear sense.
Okay.
It's
Good.
like you have to meet people where they are.
Exactly.
So apparently, what were you saying?
I was gonna say it's just like if you're speaking foreign languages, different languages. If I speak English and I want somebody in France to get this message, and they don't speak English, then I have to put it in a way to where they can receive it and do what I need them to do when I need them to do it.
I like that. Actually, I love that. And apparently other people are loving. Now it is like really blowing up. I'm going to post. So we have a listener. She said, I use all of what he's saying. And you were right, Kyle. Sometimes people do get offended, but then you have to kind of clarify that maybe there's some, maybe there's some trauma that is bringing that up, or that may be triggering.
Well, absolutely, and that's one of the benefits of having somebody outside of the conversation or the conflict to actually help you see it or understand it from a different point of view. Because we have our emotions tied to. Let me say. Let's say if I was arguing or fighting with my wife, and she could be right as all day long, because I know her. And I know how she moves, and I figured she's doing this to do this and all this. And so you're making all these stories up in your head, and they might not necessarily be true. And that causes you not to participate in the solution.
So what I hear you saying is when there is conflict, that you should be mindful in the present moment of what's being said. Because to me, it seems like if you're doing all the ruminating thoughts, then you're coming up with a whole nother scenario that really probably isn't true.
That's what most people do. Most people come up with scenarios that are not necessarily true, and they're also looking at things from maybe their perspective. So a lot of times we could be looking at things, this is my perspective and this is someone else's perspective. And so we're looking at it from two different angles. And so what we try to do is to get you to look at it at the same angle. And hopefully that'll help you get to a closer solution to where you are.
Have you ever had any mediation where it was like this and it just stayed like that? There was just, or the narrative, it could be like this. And for those who are going to be listening on an audio podcast, I'm pretty much saying that the people are not communicating equally or even in that 20-30%. Have you ever noticed that?
Well, there are times when that does happen. But my goal as a mediator is to get as much information out on the table so you can make a proper decision. So what happens is those people could be in the moment and they're like this, but because they've got the information they need to make a proper decision, they can leave my table and still make a good decision for them and their family that'll work out for the both of
Okay. I like that.
them.
Celeste. Celeste the thing. I adore Celeste. She actually
Well,
had
great.
you remember when I told you about the picture that popped up on the live stream?
Yes.
I was on with Celeste when that happened.
Oh, Celeste. Bless you, Celeste. But then again, hey.
Celeste said, yes, specific is important in relationships. Most people don't really know, don't know what they really want. You got to be specific and clear with yourself before communicating with your partner. That is a word right there.
It sure is.
Ooh.
It sure is. Go ahead and pass the collection plate.
I'm telling you, that's my light bulb moment. I can't even put the emoji in there myself. Somebody put a light bulb in the comment section for me. I love
Good.
that, Celeste. That was some good stuff. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, that's a clear statement. It's very clear, and I agree wholeheartedly with everything said. You have to be clear about what you want and what you want, what your expectations are, and that way you also give a person the opportunity to participate or not participate because they're clear on what you want, what you expect, and that way it cuts out a whole bunch of silliness.
Absolutely. I have another. Wait, before I go on, I remember when Celeste was on a couple weeks ago, and I asked her, she's a therapist, and I
Mm-hmm.
forgot what the question was, but she said, no, I am very clear on when I talk to my clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I asked her, like, if there could ever be any kind of miscommunication. And she said, no, I'm very clear. So that piggybacks on what you just said.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we have a physician on here, and she said to de-escalate the behavior so that they're not offended, but to also let them know that I like this, that you were hurt by what they were saying or saying how they said it to correct the behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's a couple ways you can do that, and of course we talked about the IU statement. And of course, one thing, especially when you're in a relationship with people, say, "Listen, you know, I love you. I love everything about you. We're together." And so, yeah, I hate to say it, but almost butter them up. And then you can say, but listen, this is what's bothering me. This is the thing here. So now they can hear you. But if you go in guns blazing right out the jump, fight or flight, and they're not going to hear anything you said.
Right. Yeah, I agree because I know when what, I'm gonna be transparent. I grew up in a household where there was a lot of yelling, and
Mm-hmm.
I find myself too that when I get in those conflicts, I will shrink and I put myself in a little glass bottle and I see everything that's going on, but I don't like it. It
Right.
just
You don't
it's
want to
a
get
trigger.
involved. I understand. I understand. A lot of people are that way because we've all had that same sort of traumatic experience for the most part. But once you realize that conflict is inevitable, and conflict does not necessarily mean bad things. Matter of fact, the truth is, conflict actually leads to better solutions that make both people happy.
How
So
is
when
that?
it so when it happens, or I'll give you a basic example. Let's say I wanted to paint my wall. We can use this wall back here.
Okay.
It's gold. I wanted to paint it blue, and my wife said, "No, I want to paint it red." So technically, as simple as it is, that's somewhat of a conflict. So then we have a discussion. We have a discussion about why you want to paint it the way you want to paint it, and why I want to paint it the way I want to paint it. And you realize that I want it blue because blue is a calming color, and it helps everybody relax. She wants it red because it's just hot. That's the new thing, you know. And so we realize that at the end of the day, we might realize, well, we both want to be calm as opposed to trendy, you know. So we had a conflict, but because we discussed that conflict, we came out with a better solution. Does that make sense?
That makes clear sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
what were you about to say?
I was gonna say, and that's the case in most cases. But the deal is how people respond to conflict is what really tends to make it worse than what it really is.
You know what? You're right. Let me tell you. Actually, well, I did this a little on the meditation event that I had, but I was talking about self-care and stress and how sometimes we have self-induced stress on how we respond to conflict. And I was reading on this book with, what did she say? How people can, during conflicts, people can be a shock absorber, like a car. Shock absorbers, they absorb all the shock as opposed to being a peacekeeper or / mediator like yourself. And that a lot of us become shock absorbers and we do not communicate effectively, or we don't communicate at all, and we just take on all that stress.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and absorb all the shock or the trauma or whatever it is, all the negative emotions that come with it. And I believe working on our effective communication is when we become the peacekeeper, excuse me, the mediator. Does that make sense?
It does. It does not necessarily make you a mediator, but it helps you deal in these situations that cause so much angst in your life or so much stress for you. You know, because typically what happens is because of your people's approach to conflict or how they see conflict, they shrink. And when you shrink and you don't communicate, that does not help get a solution that might work for everybody involved.
Absolutely. I have a question. Hi, Tanya. Tanya asks, how do I communicate with a coworker who is always on the defensive?
Okay, the question is, why are they on the defensive? A lot of people will be on defensive because maybe they've had a previous interaction with you that caused them to be defensive. Are you communicating with the coworker to tell them everything that they do is wrong compared to telling them when they do things right? What's the approach? There's so many possibilities. So I can't really answer that question without more information. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And Tanya, if you're still on, if you'd like to, you can type in the comments a little more detail and we'll see what Kyle has to say. Other than that, we're going to move on. We have all these comments are coming in, Kyle. They're loving this. Keita says, if we've had that communication circuit taught from kindergarten, then
exactly,
we'll all be ahead.
Exactly. Some colleagues of mine have been trying to get this into schools, but trying to get the schools to do something different is a big task. It's like trying to turn a ship 90 degrees.
That's not good.
It's difficult.
And that amazes me at the difficulty of it, because just like she said, you teach a child young. You'll have adults that communicate effectively. I mean, and the trickle down effect is so positive.
It'll be a better society. But to be honest with you, the truth is if you see a conflict and an unresolved conflict, 9 times out of 10, somebody somewhere is making some money.
What do you mean?
If there is somebody who's not actively trying to solve the problem, then there's somebody within that process are making money off the conflict, so they keep it going. I'll give you a good example.
Yeah.
If there's been a few times that I've been with attorneys, And of course, I had to mediate for their clients. And rather their clients seemed like they were getting to a place where they were agreeing. And every now and then, one of the attorneys would throw in something that would throw everything into a haywire because they were making money. They were making money. And that's just not that example, but somewhere where there is conflict, somebody's making money off the conflict. Somebody somewhere.
My mind is blown with that because it makes so much sense. Damn. Oh my God.
That's a secret. I probably shouldn't have shared that with everybody. But I'm transparent as can be.
But I mean, I think that's good though. I mean, that's something that we would have never known, but it makes sense.
Yeah.
So Celeste, the therapist, she says, I love this communication conversation. Tell people how they can better communicate with themselves. I think that's huge.
Wow, that is huge. Communicate with themselves. I'm sorry. I'm going to have to ask you to clarify that, Celeste, the therapist.
And I'm sure she's going to come right back. And Celeste, if you want to come on and have a little banter, I won't be mad at that. Actually, I need to drop the link let me do that right now. So if anyone wants to come on, not just Celeste, and if you have any questions for Kyle, I'm going to drop the link right now. There we go. Okay. So attending physician, I don't know what you mean when you said, for example, the pandemic. Oh, shoot, Celeste is coming. It's my girl. So Celeste, everyone, Celeste the therapist, I absolutely adore. She's coming on. She has an awesome podcast. She is actually known as one of the top 10 influencers with Black mental health.
Excellent.
Isn't Hey Celeste?
Hey, I actually got to get ready to go on somebody's live in about an hour, but I just wanted to come on because I was going to type after what he said about people make money off of conflict, and it's true. I didn't know how to type it all together, but I just wanted to say that society profits off of our insecurities. We think that we need these things. We think that we're not beautiful, and so society gets paid.
Absolutely.
What he says is an uncommon statement to make. I've never heard it that way, and I'm that makes a lot of sense because I talk about all the time about how society profits off of our perceived needs when they're not really needs at all, and our insecurities. So I just thought that was such a dope statement that you made. I wanted to say that.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Celeste. I appreciate that comment. My mind is blown from that. I just learned this tonight.
But before you go, though, you did ask a question: how to better communicate with themselves.
Yeah.
And that is huge, but I think you would probably be better suited to be able to answer that. I deal with people who communicate with other people.
Right. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Self-awareness is important. The same way you answered the question around people and relationships and how they need to be clear with themselves. And I think self-awareness is just a huge start to really understanding your needs, your wants, your values. Sometimes it seems like there's a conflict, but there's really not a conflict. You just have to make a decision to decide on what it is you want to do or what you need.
Absolutely.
It's really making a decision. A lot of times with my clients, I'm really, okay, so what is it that you want to do? What's the decision? But without a decision, you feel like there's conflict when there really may not be that much conflict. It's, you just got to get really clear with yourself, like he's saying. So yeah, I'm loving this conversation. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Celeste. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Bye. She's so dope. And I love when she comes on. And she's great. She's my mentor.
Yeah, well, I believe it.
Yeah, she was on Fox Soul a while back, and they were loving her on that as well. So Hey, Megan. More comments are coming in for you, Kyle.
Excellent.
She says, I approach conflict with coworkers and intimate partners differently. Conflict resolution and financial literacy should be part of early childhood education.
Absolutely. I agree with the last part. My question is why do you approach conflict with coworkers and intimate partners differently? At the end of the day, conflict is conflict.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Like, what's the shift between the
Right.
two? So, Megan, you too, if you'd like to come on, you can divulge a little more, or you can put it in the comments. It's up to you. But I am very curious as well. Oh, she said because she, yeah, I'm with her on that. Because she's not that invested with colleagues. Look,
okay, well, if you're not invested, I can imagine what that communication is like. Okay.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I'm like that too. Okay, here's another topic. Stop focusing on being right.
Yes.
Oof.
That is a killer. There are people who will continue to keep an argument or disagreement going just to prove that they are right. See, the one thing we focus on is we don't have to focus on right or wrong in this communication. We just focus on what solution will work for both of you, or what solution works in this situation. And at that point, no one's admitting right, no one's admitting wrong, and that kind of alleviates a lot of the hoopla in the conflict. Does that make sense?
It sure does, because I will tell you, this is Ursula back in the day. I can stay up until 7 a.m. to be right if I'm having a conflict with my partner. Like, it's nothing. That's easy. We can go to 8, 10 o'clock in the morning. I'll be sleepy as hell, but we're going to keep going and sparring. And I'm not proud of it, but I mean, I'm just being honest.
Well, I mean, we've all had to start somewhere. That's growth, though. That's growth. You're going past that, right?
I sure have.
Okay, good.
I have grown from, and I'm still growing. I am still growing. I've been doing my shadow work and working on myself a lot. Megan said that she is actively disengaged with her coworkers, which is why.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, did you understand that, what she said?
I believe I did. But my question is, are you getting the best results out of that environment with that approach? My response, because when I worked in the office, I give you a good example. I worked in the office, and I had a gentleman who was older than me. And at the time I was there, the email and all that sort of stuff had just started coming in. And so they required that you send every request via email. And so they could track it for the most part. But I had an older coworker who was not used to email, and he was used to face-to-face communication.
Jesus.
So yes, exactly. So the deal is either I could be right and I could send this via email and he not get it, but that holds up me doing my work. So if I needed something done, I could just, it took a little bit more effort on my part, of course, in the email, but get up from my spot, walk down 2 cubicles and let him know what it is that I needed. And that way I got my work done. He's not in trouble and we're all working in simpatico.
Man, that's intriguing. I like that.
Well, a lot of people say, you're just a kissy. You're just too nice. You're just too easy. But at the end of the day, it made it better, a better environment. Well, I'm an energy person as well.
Yeah.
So if you got a whole bunch of negative energy, it becomes oppressive to do the work. It becomes oppressive to be in the environment. And but if disengage works for you, I would keep it going. But I would probably encourage you that there's a better way.
Lord Jesus, I'm going to have to talk to you offline about that, because she's talking. I mean, that's right here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's most people.
Yeah. She also said, yes, my sanity. On a serious note, my candor is hard to swallow for some. With maturity, I have softened the edges and pivot when necessary.
Oh, okay. We can go back to that 3 steps to effective communication, and based on that statement, you want to communicate effectively and get what you need out of the communication. And if you're not getting that, then maybe your approach might need to be adjusted, or as you say, pivot.
And that's the key word, the pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to when Celeste came on, when you and Celeste were talking, blind guy, his wife, and their life, said, I wanted to type without doing a dissertation on people getting paid from chaos, but Celeste, the therapist, touched on it, and the attending physician too, with the pandemic, meaning mask, sanitizers, virtual services. And
Okay.
Celeste agreed. She's like, yes, I agree.
Oh yeah. At the end of the day, this confusion that we're having, or that we had for years now. Believe me, somebody somewhere is cashing a check, and that's the reason why the confusion is still going on.
A physician, she said, I had to do that as well, Kyle, talking about your encounter with your older coworker. Older physicians had a hard time with the electronic world, but their wisdom and experience was still valued.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So what is your thoughts on using warm nonverbal communication? And before you answer that, if you can answer with the mindset of in relationships.
Warm nonverbal communication?
Yes, sir.
Okay. First of all, nonverbal communication actually makes up probably about 80% of our communication.
Really?
People will pay attention to what you look like and what you're doing more than what you're saying. For example, I could sit up here and say, I love you, I love you, I love you, and I mean it, but based on my face, it don't look like love, does it?
No.
And this is what people are seeing. So so our nonverbals are very important. So what we have this one of the things that I try to be very conscious of. We have this process called SOLER in mediation. SOLER. It's an acronym. SOLER. And the S stands for, when you're talking to a person, you square up with them, as opposed to talking to them all kinds of ways, and you basically square up with them. Make sure you maintain an open stance. An open stance is, like you're ready to receive something, like somebody's tossing you a basketball and you're open to receive it, as opposed to sitting like this. That naturally gives you a closed off. And there's a lot of people who don't think they're being closed off, and they actually listen that way. But the truth is, it gives the person who's actually talking to you the impression that you're not interested in what they're saying. And that's when I said, the L is, you lean into the conversation, you lean into it a little bit more, and that lets people know that you really are interested. And of course, you give them eye contact. If you do those things, and of course, you're relaxed. If you do those things, that's the R. You can get most people to tell you anything that you want to know.
Really? I love that.
Absolutely.
And I always notice though when people have their arms crossed in front of them, that to me is a brick wall, an emotional brick wall. It doesn't matter. It's a wall, and there's that barrier. Don't break it.
Right. And the deal is you might not say that to yourself consciously, but your subconscious pays attention to that and sees that. And what might not cause you to be able to communicate as freely and as effectively as you want to.
So how does that look in a relationship using the solar?
Oh, it's still the same thing. If you're going to have a serious conversation, you basically, you're sitting there, of course, in front of them with the open stance, and you're leaned in, eye contact, and you're relaxed. Because if you're relaxed, remember again, people will mimic what you do for the most part. So if you're relaxed, then they'll be relaxed, and then they'll square up with you, and they'll have an open stance, and they'll lean in, and they'll give you eye contact as well.
Attending physician said that is not a defensive pose. What, the arms crossed? I thought it would be, but attending physician, can you explain that? We're here for you. And do you see that? She put that it's not a defensive pose.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, that's opinion. That's a person's opinion. And I can understand it because I can see it either way. Because believe you me, before I started this training, this is what I thought communication was. I was like this because it lets you know that I'm really interested and I'm really involved. I got the eyes squint. I'm listening hard and everything. But at the same time, I learned that it could be more interesting if I did this, brought those eyes up to let people know that I'm really interested, and then they're willing to tell me more and more and more. But that's just my experience.
Okay, so I'm gonna post her experience. She says arms crossed actually is what people do when they are nervous or uncomfortable. It is a way of soothing themselves.
Okay, I see that, but once we go back to the solar, and this is not to cross debate or anything, but it lets them know that if you're nervous and uncomfortable, that makes the person in front of you nervous and uncomfortable. So, but I understand and I see exactly what you mean, the tendon position.
And here's her rebuttal. She said, "That's a fact."
All right.
Light bulb. Somebody put a light bulb in there for me. And for attending physician. All right, few more and then we'll wrap it up. We kind of crossed on some of these about the be clear and to the point. Express empathy and respect.
Absolutely.
How does that look in relationships and with family?
First of all, everyone's feelings are valid. No matter what they are, it's their feelings. And second of all, everybody wants to be heard. So the respect comes when, okay, your feelings are valid. I might not necessarily agree with them in this side, but I understand that's how you feel. That's part of the respect and the empathy. Of course, the empathy is empathy in any way is you put yourself in the other person's shoes. Ooh. And 9 times out of 10, if you put yourself in those shoes, you might see lots of times you might see it the same way they see it. And if you see it the same way they see it, then you can understand exactly why they feel the way they feel.
Light bulb.
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, that I like what you said, that you can put yourself in their shoes. Mm-hmm. That was the bloop for me right there.
Oh, I like the bloops.
Yeah, that's that bloop. That's that mind blown. Mm-hmm. And blind guy and his wife, she put some light bulbs in there, and she said one for each of us.
All right.
All right, we're going to wrap it up, but this was the ultimate one, the ultimate tip that I absolutely loved. And it said, remember, you are a team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You're a team against the problem,
Yes.
against the problem, whatever
Yes.
that is.
Have you ever seen where a spouse, they just refuse to be a good teammate or a teammate in general? Just, you just know it's not going to work.
Well, by
I'm nosy.
the time they get to me, more than likely the teamwork is over. uh, so that's not really something that I deal with typically for the most part. Probably the therapists are probably more so, on deal with that more than I do.
Speaking of that, in their line of work, would you have to have conversations with the therapist
Well, it
if
depends on
there's
the
work needed?
it depends on the situation. Depends on the situation. Nine times out of 10, I wouldn't. Every now and then, someone might request that. Well, can this person participate or something like that? And if both people agree, then that's a possibility. But for the most part, not as much.
Mm. Do you have mediation with a parent and child, or have you ever?
I have.
How do those go?
Well, again, conflict is conflict, and mediation is mediation. There's not really much. The, the big thing is you have to what we call is a power imbalance. And when you have power imbalance, that means there's somebody who's got more power in the relationship, somebody who's a superior, whether it could be a pastor or a member, or it could be a supervisor and an employee and a child, or a parent and a child. So you have to almost kind of balance the power. And we have techniques in which we use to actually help balance the power so that, again, the child feels comfortable saying exactly what they feel needs to be said.
Can you give an example?
I hate to give examples because one of the rules of what we deal with is confidentiality. And if I give an example of something that I've experienced,
Right.
the person who someone out there might know the person that I might be talking about or something like that. So I really, really rather not give live or real experiences.
And I clearly understood your answer with that.
Oh, great. Okay.
You effectively communicated that with me.
I try.
One last comment. Attending physician said, I love this and enjoyed it.
Good. Thank you so much. I'm glad you did.
Yeah, I did too. I learned a lot. I learned about, what is it, the solar.
Yes.
I learned about definitely squaring my shoulders to my person in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate and not have counters.
Exactly. Listen, well, we didn't even get a chance to go into the listening and active listening, which that sounds like that's another topic.
So if you'd love to come back, we can either do it now or continue, or if you want to come back, I would love for you to, if you would like to. You tell
For
me.
sure. Well, I would love to come back. Matter of fact, I'd love to be a regular. However you want to do it.
So if you all would love Kyle, the mediator, to come back and talk about active listening skills, please say yes, put a light bulb. Oh, okay. Someone said definitely a talk pack with practical value. So I guess we got to do it next time. And Tanya said, thanks, very informative. And yeah, this was a good talk. Kyle, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Oh, wait, here we go. This one is for you. Come on back, Kyle, with the light bulb.
All right.
Thank you, Keita. Keita, well, I know you're watching right now, Keita. Don't make me call you out on this live. Girl, return my email, please, and thank you. I've been wanting this sister on my YouTube channel for the longest. So the name of her podcast with her husband is Blind Guy, His Wife, and Their Life. And her husband really is blind. And they share their life. Oh, wait, hold on. Here's another one for you, Kyle. See you next week, Kyle.
Well, such short notice, I don't know. But
and look, someone's co-signing. Yes.
Good.
So anyway, yes, everyone, Kyle is coming back. This is awesome. As if my smile cannot get bigger. I'm happy for that. He said yes.
Good.
Kyle, do you have any parting words you'd like to share with everyone?
I would say, remember, conflict can actually lead to better solutions. Don't run from it. Everything that needs to be said can be said in a way to which everybody understands, and you can get a better solution from it. Don't get me to rambling. I can come up with 20 more, but I'm not going to do that.
That'll be episode 3 you'll be on.
Oh my gosh. So you just give me a season. I don't know. Just no.
Well, you know what? All seriousness, when I put it out on my this topic on my Facebook page, there was a lot of traction from it. You know,
Good.
a lot of us do a lot of talking, but that goes to show from the traction that a lot of us, we are realizing that we do not effectively communicate.
Right. Yeah. Well, if that is the realization that's going on right now, or the awakening, if you will, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Because most people, you know, they think that they're communicating, and they're just basically moving their mouth. Basically, yeah. and that's it. Of course, and you see why we don't get the results that we want to get, because people are just moving their mouth.
Yeah, it's like literally like tires in mud. There's a lot of movement, but it's going nowhere fast.
Good analogy. I love it. Mm-hmm.
Did you understand that clearly?
Listen, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
It's all good. I love it. Kyle, can you tell everyone where can they reach you? Okay.
You can, if you go to my website, there's www.brunermediation.com, which is actually going across the bottom of the screen right now. And you can follow me on Instagram as Kyle the Mediator. It's really that simple.
I didn't know that. Okay. I'm going to follow you tonight for sure.
Good. Everybody get on and follow. Everybody follow me.
Yeah. And I'll definitely put it on my Instagram as well, so people can contact you as well. And is there a code that you'd like to mention? Or
oh, absolutely. For everybody who is actually interested in necessary mediation services, Ursula actually has a code for you that you could actually use and actually get 10% discount on whatever service you just decide to use. You just make sure you actually let us know what the code is.
The code is very easy. If you think about Black girls getting their shift together, it's all the first letters: BGGTST10. And I will put, I'll make a graphic of it so people can take a screenshot of it and they can send it to you. They'll know that they came to you via this podcast.
Excellent. That would be great.
And I'll definitely put it in the show notes as well. And Keita said she's going to email me tonight. No worries, sis, whenever you get ready. But she said she's going to use that analogy of tires in mud, a lot of movement and going nowhere fast. Yeah.
See, that's a million. You might want to copyright that or something, because that's going to be $1 million phrase there.
Hey, it's all about healing. So y'all take it, run with it. It's all about self-awareness. All right. You all, thank you so much for all your comments. Thank you, attending physician, Tanya, Keita, Blind Guy, Megan, everyone. Thank you for Celeste. Thank you. Oh, and Mo. Thank you, Monique. Thank you, everybody, for all your comments. Kyle and I really appreciate it. And remember, the ultimate thing is that we want to effectively communicate, because that also aids in part of our healing, right?
It does.
And it also brings a lot of self-awareness, which can dilute some conflicts that we have in life. I mean, it's just to effectively communicate.
Absolutely.
And I also feel that if you let go of that ego, that can also help resolve a lot of conflicts and increase solution-based conflicts.
Well, yes, that actually will help, but you can't let a person who has an ego actually not contribute to the process as well, because it can still work for them as well.
Ooh.
Yeah.
On that note, I have nothing else to say. You dropped a bomb on that one.
All right.
We'll end on that note. You all have a great evening. Make sure and check out Kyle's website is brunermediation.com, as well as Black Girls Getting Their Shift Together. You all have a great evening, and we'll see you next. Oh, we have a bonus episode on Monday. I'll post the info soon. You all have a good evening.
Excellent. Good night.
This for the queens, sisters manifesting their dreams. Get your cream by any means and beam with self-esteem. Beauty supreme and Buddha walk so mean. The way you fit in them jeans, you eat your cornbread and greens. Dance or a doctor, red wine or vodka. Redesign your spot and redefine your mantra. Retwist your locks and realign your chakras. Doing your squats and getting closer to God, huh? Brunching with your squad or taking a girl's trip. Adjust your crown, you God's gift to the world, sis. Celestial body, drink your water. Meditate, sun kiss goddess, heavenly order. Levitate, tribe of Ashanti. Black girl magic, melanin popping. Whether you ratchet or lavish, whether you bougie or savage, you a gift and a treasure. You got to love a black girl getting a shift together. Black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls getting a shift together, man. These black girls are getting a shift together. These black girls getting a shift together, dog.